Good morning, students. So today we are going to discuss about the next model in a row, that is a spiral model. So prior to this we have done waterfall model. That was used when the requirements are initially well known. Then we did prototype model, which was used when the requirements are not clearly understood. Then we have done iterative and evolutionary model, which is best suited when the requirements are unstable, right? Then we apply iterative and evolutionary approach. Now is the fourth category, that is a spiral model, and this spiral model is specifically meant for risk associated project. So what I mean is, when do we use a spiral model? When we have risk prone projects, then only we use the spiral model, else we never use this model. Now what do you mean by a risk associated or a risk prone project? Let me take an example. Say you're supposed to develop a software for ventilators in an hospital, right? So if you're going to develop a software for a ventilator for medical purpose, you know that it is a safety critical system. If there is a minor mistake, 0.00001 error is there, it could be fatal. It can take the life of a person. So everything you do while developing a software for this ventilator has to be done very carefully in a detailed manner, right? You have to thoroughly study, analyze and develop the things properly, else what could lead to disastrous effect could be there. Similarly, one more example could be if you are preparing a software for aircraft shuttles or for submarines and all, right? So ultimately a minor mistake again could lead to a crash, right? So it could be fatal. So these are something known as a risk associated project. So if we have a risk associated project, then spiral model is the best model, because risk management is done in this model, which was not done in either of the model we have done so far, right? So what do you mean by a spiral model? This is the most important SDLC model which provides support for risk handling, right? It was given by Barry Boehm in the year 1986 in the research paper, while it was practically used in 1988. As far as diagram is concerned, right, the name is justified. The spiral, what does a spiral means? This spiral, right? You start at one point, you move, keep on repeating it until unless the work is done, so it makes a spiral. So as per this diagram, or you can see the functionality, this model is divided into 4 parts, or we call them as 4 quadrants, right? The first quadrant is this, second quadrant is this, third quadrant is this, and fourth is this. So one thing is also clear, you can write them like you can start 1 here, 2, 3, 4, you can start 1 from here, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Ultimately the order will remain the same, and the thing to be taken care of is the spiral will always start from the first quadrant and it will always end in the fourth quadrant, starting from the first, ending in the fourth, and you can place it anywhere, but sequence will remain the same, right? Now what is the first quadrant here is, you have to identify the objective, right? Identify the alternative solution, almost the work related to your planning, right? We roughly plan here, identify the objective, scope and everything, right? In the feasibility you identify the alternative solutions, if you remember in the feasibility study. So entire requirement related task or the planning task is carried out in the first one. Second is identify and resolve risk. Now this is the second quadrant, which is specifically meant for a spiral model, where the risk management is carried out. Risk management means it's a process, right? It's not a single activity, where you have to identify the risk first of all, which might come true in your project. We haven't developed the software yet, we just have the objective, that is the requirements with us. From those requirements, you have to identify the risk which might come true in your project. Go for assessment, that is identifying or assigning the priority to those risks based on the severity, right, and as well as probability. Once you go for assigning the priority, then we go for resolving the risk. So it's a 3-step process. First of all, identify it, then go for assessment, that is assign the priority based on probability and severity, and the third one is resolve the risk. We also call it as containment or abatement of risk. So this is what the specific or the most important part relevant to your spiral model. Then comes is your development, right? Development or the software is actually engineered in the third quadrant. When we say develop, that means all the SDLC phases are being carried out, right? So develop next version of the product, and once you have developed it, now you give it to the customer for review and plan for the next iteration, right? So these are the 4 quadrants in which the software is developed. Identify the requirements and the objectives, plan it, go for risk management, develop your software, give it to the customer for evaluation and feedback, and plan for the next iteration. Next iteration means this is one iteration, this is second iteration, this is third iteration, right? This is how it works. So see, in its diagrammatic representation, it looks like a spiral with many loops. This exact number of loops of the spiral is unknown and can vary from project to project. So it depends upon the complexity of the project. It might happen the project gets completed in one loop itself. It is a very small project, it can be completed here. Customer is satisfied, right? So it ends here. But if customer is not satisfied, he may ask for modification or he may add new functionality. So you have to implement it. So you'll go for second iteration. Again give it to the customer for evaluation. It might end here, or you might have to carry forward with the third iteration. So this is it. The number of loops or these spirals are not fixed, right? Though we say that each spiral is corresponding to a phase in this model. So what does it mean? If one spiral is corresponding to a phase, that means you have completed feasibility study here. In the second iteration, you complete your requirement analysis. In the third iteration, you will go with designing. So altogether, if I follow the sequence, there must be 7 spiral, since each spiral is in sync with each phase. But it is said that the number of spirals or the loops are not fixed, because if you give it to the customer and he is not satisfied with the current iteration, you have to modify that iteration. That means the second spiral will also will be for the same phase. So you worked on the requirements, customer feels no more requirement must be there, again you will go for requirement analysis in this. Again customer is not satisfied, again requirement analysis. The third spiral will be for requirement only. So a phase can take multiple spirals also. That is why we say these spirals are not fixed, depends upon the project. Each loop of the spiral is called a phase of the software development process. I said they are in sync with each other, but it might vary also. That is a contradictory thing here. The exact number of phases needed to develop the product can be varied by the project manager depending upon the project risk. So altogether we say it depends upon the complexity of the project, as well as it also depends upon the project manager who is carrying out the task of risk management. As the project manager dynamically determines the number of phases, so the project manager has an important role to develop a product using spiral model. Now there are 2 things in this model. So if I wanted to know how much is the cost involved in case of a spiral model, so what is the parameter that is going to help us is the radius, right? So if the radius is this much, that means the cost will be less. But as the radius increases, the time is also getting increased, right? So ultimately with time cost increases. If radius is again more, right, so cost will increase. So this radius determines the cost of the project. Second parameter that is used in the model is an angular dimension, right? This angle. What does this angular dimension indicates? angular dimension indicates the progress. Say quadrant 1 and quadrant 2 is completed. Angular dimension is 180 degree. We are talking about a single spiral as of now. So if it is 180 degree, that means we can say that 50% of the work is completed, that is quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, and another 50% is left out. So we can easily determine the progress here. Or if it is just 90 degree, that means we have the angle is this. So I can say okay, only first quadrant is done, rest 3 quadrants are still left. So progress can easily be identified using this angular dimension. So this is what I said, the radius of a spiral at any point represents the cost of the project so far, and the angular dimension represents the progress made so far in the current phase, that is current spiral. So this is what a spiral model is, right? These are the quadrants. In the first quadrant, we identify the objective and identify the alternative solutions. Second one is related to resolving the risk. Third one is the entire development or engineered, software is engineered here. And the fourth one is review and plan for the next phase. So now what is important in a spiral model is a risk handling, right? So understand what do we mean by a risk. Risk is any circumstances, event or condition that hampers or act as an obstacle for successful completion of your project, right? In simple terms if I say, वो condition या फिर event या फिर circumstances जो आपके प्रोजेक्ट को सक्सेसफुली कंप्लीट नहीं होने दे रहा है, उसे हम रिस्क बोलते हैं, राइट? सो एनीथिंग विच हैम्पर्स द successful completion of your project. We are not saying completion. Successful completion means whatever is stated in your SRS document, you have to abide by all those and fulfill all those requirements. So that would be your successful completion, right? So you get a quality product in less time and less cost. That was your objective. So you have to fulfill that. This is what is meant by successful completion. So risk might hamper this completion. The most important feature of the spiral model is handling these unknown risks after the project has started. Now why we are calling this as unknown risk? Why not known risk? Because we haven't developed the software yet. If we have something in hand and identifying, like if you have a code for a problem and you need to identify the error, it's simple because you have the code, you'll compile it or hand trace it and you can easily identify the error. But if you don't have anything in hand, you just have the requirement document, you haven't developed anything, and from that requirement you need to guess or identify all those risks which might come true. What is like probability is high that this risk will come in your project. So that is an unknown risk, right? We don't know anything about that because we haven't developed anything yet. So it's a very challenging task also, right? So such risk resolutions are easier done by developing a prototype. So generally we go for making a prototype in order to help in identifying such type of risk. Like see, there are two things. Ultimately we are having so many models because there is a scope of change. So as per the different requirements we are using this model. So we know that changes are inevitable and it will definitely come in your project. So how to cope up with change? There are two things. One is a change avoidance, right? And second one is a change tolerance, right? So which model is suitable for change avoidance, where we are avoiding the changes in the later phases? Which model is used, right? And the second scenario is change tolerance. That means change will definitely come and you have to adapt to that change. That is known as change tolerance. So for the first one, that is change avoidance, the prototype model is suited. Why prototype? Why we are making a prototype? We are clearing the requirements. Like I said, we are supposed to make 10 website pages. So I just make one page and give it to the customer for evaluation. That is, a prototype is made and several rounds of iteration is done until unless all the requirements are gathered and a page is developed which satisfies the customer's requirement. He is happy with that. Then we develop another 9 pages based on that. So that is change avoidance. So we are avoiding the change in the original software by accommodating changes in that prototype, right? So I'll make the changes in the first page only, and I have all the requirements once the prototype is developed. So in the 9 pages which I am going to develop now, there will be least possibility of any change. So that is change avoidance, avoiding the change in the later phases. Second one I said is a change tolerance, right? So if I cannot avoid the change will definitely come anytime. Like you start your work and maybe tomorrow a change comes, maybe after 10 days a change comes. So change is inevitable in software development. So how you're going to tolerate that change? That means you have to adapt it. You cannot deny that change, you have to implement it. So the model that is effective for this case is iterative or incremental approach, or that is evolutionary. We have done two models, iterative and evolutionary, where we are developing the software in iterations, right? So if a change comes, we can accommodate. If it is a minor change, we can accommodate that minor change in the same iteration. But if it is a major change, we can adapt to that change in the, or we can implement that change in the second iteration or the subsequent iteration. So that is known as change tolerance, right? So here we are saying in spiral model we will be using a prototype in order to like avoid the changes, like or risk might come true, so we will be using a prototype model to resolve such type of risk. The spiral model support coping up with these risks by providing the scope to build a prototype at every phase of the software development, right? We can develop prototypes here. So prototyping model also support risk handling, but the risk must be identified completely before the start of the development work of the project. So the question arises is, what does it mean? Like if prototype model is going to help us in this spiral model, so what is the need of a spiral model? We have a prototype model in place, why not to use a prototype model? But the difference between prototype model and a spiral model is, in this spiral model you just have the requirement document and you have to assume that which all risk might come true, and accordingly you have to work so that you can avoid or reduce that risk, right? But in a prototype model, what happens is you must have all the requirements initially. If it is not clear it with the making of a prototype, then only you can start with the development, right? So this is the thing, in the spiral model we don't require initial requirements because development phase is the third quadrant, while in the prototype model you must have all the requirements beforehand before the development work starts. But in real life project, risk may occur after the development work starts. In that case we cannot use prototype model, because prototype model is going to resolve the risk prior to the development by making a prototype. But during the development, if any risk comes, the spiral model is suitable for that. In each phase of the spiral model, the feature of the product dated and analyzed, and the risk at that point of time are identified and resolved through prototyping. Thus this model is more flexible compared to the SDLC model. What does it mean is, if say this is one phase, this is second phase, like these are corresponding to the phases, in each phase we are carrying out this risk analysis or risk management. It's not that we are carrying out risk management once and then we start with the complete development like prototype model. It might happen risk might come in subsequent phases also. So each phase you are supposed to carry out this risk management. So it is done in spiral model. Then another important feature of a spiral model is it is called as a meta model. So everyone is like familiar with the term metadata. So if I say what is a metadata, it is data about data. Data about data means it is providing us information related to some data. So if I say meta model, so what is assumed? We'll say it is model about model. So model about model means what? It means that spiral model includes every other model in itself. ये स्पायरल मॉडल बाकी सारे मॉडल्स को भी इंक्लूड करता है अपने अंदर, राइट? सो दिस इज व्हाट मेटा मॉडल इज. It is like all the modules are present in this model how, instead of reading this, I'll quickly summarize this with the help of this diagram. Say, let's suppose our software, if it is a small one, can be completed in a single cycle. We don't require another iteration. So if it is completed in one cycle, that means it is corresponding to a waterfall model. What is waterfall model? It's a linear sequential model. You start from one end, you continuously follow all the phases, and finally your product is developed and you deliver it to the customer. So this is what is your software is developed in a single phase itself. So it is similar to a waterfall model. But if your software is not completed in a single cycle or a loop, so you will refine the requirements and then again start with second one, right? That means, assume this, like you have prepared a prototype here, working model, you gave it to the customer gave you some modifications, so you will apply or adapt to the changes in the second iteration, right? Again you will give that prototype to the customer will again give some feedback, right? You will make those changes in the next iteration. So it resembles a prototype model also, since it includes customer evaluation and feedback, and we are refining our product as per the feedback received. So it resembles a prototype model because you're getting a working model, or you can say working module in early phase, give it to the customer, again he can work upon it, right? Likewise this will, and finally once you keep on updating it as per the customers, you're modifying it. So it will resemble which type of prototyping approach? Throwaway or evolutionary? It will be evolutionary in this case, right? Not throwaway. You develop a prototype, you keep on modify and convert it into your original system, and your software is developed. So it will be evolutionary prototype actually. Now the third one, iterative and evolutionary, they are almost the same. We develop the software in iteration. So I can say you develop an iteration in one loop, right? Then you got new requirements or modified requirement that can be developed in the second loop, right? Then the third iteration for another modules, fourth iteration for another modules, maybe modification is required in the fourth one, so fifth iteration will be for modified fourth module. So likewise it resembles a iterative and incremental approach also. So you can see that this spiral model includes every other model. It includes waterfall model if completed in one cycle. It includes a prototype model, since you are giving it to the customer, working model to the customer for evaluation, and it resembles an iterative and incremental model also, because you are developing your software in iterations. Different modules can be delivered in different iterations. So this is why we call this model as meta model, right? When to use this model actually? What is an application area, right? When the project is large, right? Not for a small project, because if it is a small project, there is a least possibility of a risk, and unnecessarily we will be wasting our time, resources in risk management. Then when the releases are required to be frequent, you have to frequently release your software, now and then, very quickly. So just a 4 quadrant here, and you can develop it. One iteration can be delivered using this 4 quadrant, right? So quickly you can give it to. Then when creation of a prototype is applicable, right? Here we make a prototype. So ultimately, since all the models are a part of this spiral model, so conditions of all will be applicable here. Now the major one is when risk and cost evaluation is important, because this is the only model which go for risk handling or risk management. For medium to high risk projects, when requirements are unclear and complex, unclear, prototype model, right? When changes may require at any moment of time, that is iterative and incremental approach. When long-term project commitment is not feasible due to changes in economic priorities, right? That means again changes. So ultimately this model can accommodate the changes also. So this is what the application area of a spiral model is. Now what are the advantages of using a spiral model? First of all is the risk handling part, right? We identify the risk, that is risk management, right? I'll take this part in detail. Risk management is a part of a 5th unit also, but I'll take this risk management again, right, in the discussion class. Just remind me of that. Then good for large projects, not for a smaller one, because unnecessarily the cost will increase because of risk management. Flexibility in requirements, that means when requirements keeps on changing, then also we can use the spiral model. And customer satisfaction, because he's getting the working product early, so he'll be more satisfied, and in his change requirements are also getting implemented, so he'll be more satisfied using this model. But then disadvantages, right? It's a complex model, right? It's not so simple because it has certain contradictory things, like though it has 4 quadrants, we say each iteration is relevant to a single phase, each spiral is corresponding to a phase, but actually it doesn't happen, right? We don't have exact 7 phases. It's flexible. It might have 1 phase also, that is 1 spiral. It might have 100 spirals also, right? It's flexible, but yes, it's not so simple because risk management is a challenging task that has to be carefully carried out, because if anything goes wrong here, it may like be very dangerous. Then expensive. Why expensive? You have to hire experts to carry out risk management, right? Now when you're going to hire an expert, definitely he'll charge more. Or if you're not hiring an expert, you will outsource your work. There is a possibility that we can outsource a risk associated module. That can be like, you can say, if you go for banking transactions, let's take an example. Whenever we go for online transaction or payments, and we go for a payment online, it takes you to a third party like BillDesk, PayPal, PayNemo. What are those? They are the third party who deals with the transactions. Now why we have outsourced? Why not the payment is directly done from the bank or your debit card or credit card? Why it takes you to a third party? Because we have asked them, we have outsourced that transaction part to a third party who deals with these transactions, and if anything goes wrong in the transaction, it sometimes happens, right? So neither the customer is responsible for that, nor the bank is responsible for that, right? This is the like responsibility of the third party to clear all those transactions, right? So if you are involving third party or an expert to deal with this, they'll definitely charge more, and maximum cost in the software development is what involved in the manpower only, the salary that we pay to the software developer. So that is why it is not suited for small projects. One more reason, right? Not too much dependable on risk analysis. Now everything depends upon the risk analysis. The successful completion of a project is very much dependent on risk analysis. Without very highly experienced expertise, it is going to be a failure to develop a project using this model. So it's clear from here. Now difficulty in time management. As the number of phases is unknown at the start of the project, so time estimation is very difficult. Now when you don't know how much time it is going to take, ultimately the schedule will definitely skip from your hand. So this is all about your spiral model. So we have done all the, you can say, the traditional models, the basic or the core traditional models till now: waterfall, prototype, iterative, evolutionary, and spiral. These are the core models. Now our task is, right, we have to compare these models based on several parameters, right? So in the next class we'll be discussing about the comparison, right? When to use it, what are the like, you can say, advantage and disadvantage, and several other things we'll be doing it. Apart from that, we are not limiting ourselves to these models. We still have many models that is required to be done. Like we'll be doing a V model, VNV model, that is verification and validation model, which is a testing model, right? Then we'll do a RAD model, rapid application development model. Then we'll do rational unified process model, RUP model. And apart from that, one more model we'll be doing in the 5th unit, that is a COCOMO model, that is a cost estimation model, right? So we have so many models still left, but as a part of your first unit, we will be doing now V model, RAD model and RUP model, and the last topic would be your Agile, right? So as of now, thank you, and if you have any doubt, we can discuss in the discussion class.